year, and I want to welcome Mrs. Jones' family to our family, because she was so much part of our family here. And it's only right that we recognize her because she had such an impression here at And it was actually kind of sad because, as you know, in 2020, COVID happened and we all went our separate ways. And after that, it was kind of hard because I never saw Mrs. Jones again. And last year, she passed away, and this whole year, we wanted to pay a tribute to her because the time, love that she spent here. So, this is our way of acknowledging her as friends and family, colleagues, and thank you for coming. So, you have your program. We're going to have some reflections from the staff. Have some treats. So is this fine without the mic? All right. Now, I just want to say, in my experience, as someone who's always served in underserved schools, I had the most challenging part of the day was lunch in the cafeteria, where you had some 200 students crowded in a tight space. When I came to Longfellow as an assistant principal in fall of 2013, I asked Miss Betty, the principal, to show me the cafeteria at lunch. If I could handle that, I could handle anything. Little did I know that lunch in the cafeteria was largely run by Mrs. Francis Jones. At the time, the students went behind the wall over there to get their heated lunches and sit at institutional tables with colorful school benches. As the students came in, the students filed out, and she had a bell to get an attention signal. I usually went up with the students into the yard as another group of 200 students came into the cafeteria. And she held the cafeteria by herself. She ran a tight ship. She had to. Try coming into the school cafeteria at lunch. It's kind of a crazy place. She would tell me how she would need to reset herself after lunch before going back to support her RSP students. She did it day in and day out. It was an unforgettable experience. Sometimes Mrs. Jones and I eventually Mrs. Jones and I learned to run the cafeteria together. After working with her for 7 years, we came to respect and admire each other. I would depend on her to run the space when I was called in an emergency. And when a child was disrespectful to her, she would bring humor into the situation, even when it got under her skin. Can you believe that child called me a so-and-so? You know what that so-and-so meant. And we had to laugh. In this job, you have to laugh, or otherwise you go crazy. It was a way of taking a deep breath and re-engaging with the child with calm and resolve. Mrs. Jones had high expectations for her students. They were first and foremost members of a community who were worthy of love and respect. And as such, she expected the best behavior from his children to show love and respect. I came to see the big heart she had for children despite her tough exterior. She brought a little something extra for the child who needed something extra. I will remember Mrs. Jones' beautiful smile, her generous heart, and the extra something she brought to others. I miss you, Mrs. Jones.
My name is Futol. I'm a first grade teacher at Longfellow. I've been teaching since 2009. But well, way before that, I was just a regular, just another random neighborhood kid from this area, 3 blocks away on Brunswick Street, which makes this my neighborhood school. So I came here, I was in kindergarten since 1987. Not since 1987, but I came to kindergarten here in 1987. Just comparing how it was back then to how it is now, there was a lot of big differences. We didn't have bungalows. We didn't have uniforms. That used to be a gas station. I don't know if some of you remember. There was a gas station right here. And now speaking of the cafeteria, I remember this cafeteria looked like a carousel. We had animals that was painted all over here. That was all in my memory books. But thinking about those times, I was lucky enough in 2005 to come back to Longfellow. I never visited. After graduation, I was gone. I never visited the school. But until 2005, when I got the opportunity to teach in this after-school program called PEP. Shout out to Miss at the Allison in the back. I got an opportunity to come here in 2005, but it was foreign to me. When I saw the bungalows, when I saw the new teachers, Miss Szasz was a new teacher back then. I didn't know who they were. We didn't have principal, we didn't have Dr. Marin or Mr. Plyer. I think there was a principal, Mr. Plyer, back then when I first started. We didn't have that. We had a Dr. Mackey. The students, it was all different to me. Until I saw someone that was recognizable. It was Mrs. Jones. If I remember Mrs. Jones, she brought fear into my heart. When I really thought about it, it wasn't because she was like getting upset at me. She was just getting upset at my friends and we were getting into trouble. But it was just, I felt it. But I knew I can't do anything. I shouldn't do anything wrong. I don't want her to target me. So when I came back in 2005 and I saw her, I had this fear of like, this is the one person I recognize, but I wonder if she remembers me. I doubt it. Because I remember I have a lot of kids that graduate from here and they'll come up to me and the worst question they could ask me is, do you remember me? You know my name? I'm like, oh, I recognize your face, but I don't really remember your name, but let's try to help me out. So when I went over to Miss Jones, I said, hey, Miss Jones, I don't know if you remember me. I used to go to the school. First thing she said, of course I remember you. I know you two older brothers. One of the brothers, my oldest brother, actually was classmates with their youngest, back in the day. And then she was like, I remember your mom. I still see her in the street sometimes. Whenever I cross paths, I talk to her. I remember your dad. And I remember when you were in kindergarten, or I remember when you were in 4th grade, and she would tell me a story. I'm like, how do you remember all this? How do you know so much about me? But at that moment, I had a strong feeling of, I was disconnected when I first entered this school in 2005, but I immediately felt that love. Mrs. Jones was that bridge from my past to my present. So when I started working in 2009 and got to work with her, I really got to know who she was. She did not bring fear into my heart. She was the sweetest, kindest person I've ever worked with. We have stories of students that needed, I think, not verbatim, but I've heard stories of the great things that she did. Of girls, or there was a student that needed a dress for graduation. She bought a dress for that. A student that needed treats, snacks, she bought for them. As much as she has like a strong voice, her heart here was the strongest for her, the sweetest. I don't know how to say that, but she was the sweetest to the students here at Longfellow. And it's interesting. When I told my my friends that Mrs. Jones passed away a couple of years ago, I got bombarded by old classmates. Because the first thing they remember about Longfellow, and the first thing I remember about Longfellow was Mrs. Jones. When I think of Longfellow, I think of Mrs. Jones. I hung out with my mom this past weekend. I told my mom, Mrs. Jones, they're going to name the cafeteria after her. The first thing my mom said, she deserves it. She was the sweetest person at Longfellow. There's no old teachers here, but she said, a lot of the teachers were not nice. They were not sweet. But Mrs. Jones was the sweetest. When she would wait, my mom would wait for me outside to pick me up. She recognized my mom. She brought her up and just hung out with mom and my mom in the cafeteria, just talked. Something about just life. When I invited my mom to shows in the auditorium, Mrs. Jones recognized my mom's hand, just standing in the back. Just an older lady standing in the back. And the first thing she would do is she would grab my mom, pull her to the front, so she could see. Those are the little things, the little stories. I'm sure there's many stories about Mrs. Jones and how much she touched touched the hearts of many students. It's a long time coming for this place to have her name here. I know when she passed away, the first thought was, we need to have something about her. We need some sort of bridge from the past to the present. So future students, my students in the back, they didn't know who Mrs. Jones was. But if you ask any one of them, they'll tell you who Mrs. Jones is. Because I told them. I told them the history, how important she is to this school, and how important she was to me. I'm hoping we have some staff here and also can leave an impact as strong as heavy as Ms. Jones did on me and all my classmates. That's all I got.
Hi folks, I'm Miss Szasz. I have the honor of saying a few words at Mrs. Jones's memorial service. I know we're running short on time, so I'll just briefly say I remember nothing about my first day teaching at Longfellow. I was terrified, I was unprepared, I was overwhelmed, confused. Mr. Moore, who's running around here somewhere, started the same day as I did. Scampering around, I don't know what he's doing. But he and I brought our classes down to the cafeteria for lunch at the same time. We had no idea where the kids were supposed to line up. We were terrified, 12 years old, teaching. And we looked into the cafeteria and we saw Mrs. Jones. And Mrs. Jones had everything running in here like a finely tuned Swiss watch. I mean, the kids were lining up. I don't know how they remembered from the year before, but she had her ducks in a row, everything organized. I assume she must be the principal. I assume she must be at the very least Longfellow royalty, which it
say, I don't even know you now. You were definitely fifth grade.
Hey, Mr. Block, volunteer here. The staff, John, deputy here. Oh, man. 10, 15 years, work in California Pacific. Get off work, I change my shift. 4:30 to 12, I come here and help. All the carnivals, Mr. Tim, good man here, Mr. Clark, full time. Joan, she ran the cafeteria. I was there. She wanted to go to the store. I'm her other boy. Oh, she said, I have 4 boys. Yeah. I said, okay. Whenever she called me, I could go. Whenever she needed something, I had to go. Anything she did for the school, it was her heart. I appreciate a lady like this from the same town. That's real. The whole school day, you get the help. That's home right there. That's family. That's family. My wife, glad I got to meet him. Got to be one of her boys. Longfellow, what they kept me here, Longfellow, volunteering, all the carnival, Santa Claus, Dr. Marin, all the teachers. Man, my son, my daughter here, I had to stay here. Long as they went to school here, I had to stay. When they graduated, she's still with me back here. Still, you coming? I said, I have good time here sometimes. Duty, part of my duty. And man, I miss you so much, you know. I love you so much. Part of my family too.
I'm not gonna stand because I got a problem with the back here a little bit, and I'm in tears with all these words. But Miss J deserves what she's got, and I'm so happy. I was a kid here, my children were a kid here, and every morning I had to run for the bus to go to work. And she'd say, leave Theta with me, and I'll even bring her home after school. You don't worry about it. So to her family, I'm so thankful. The mother that she was to her children, and her the mother she was to mine. So that's what I have to say about her. So I'll give a shout out to Miss J.
Like, what you doing out there? You doing? Still, you know what I mean? And she was like, I knew y'all would love it, so somebody told me already. But ever since then, she couldn't even drop me off at school. She'd go up there and talk to the choir, and she'd hang around the school all day. Every day. And then it got to a point to where they told her, they were like, you might as well just work here. She's here all day. So just so y'all know, that's how she ended up. Like that. Unfortunate way that it happened, but that's how it happened. But I say that I've never seen her smile as much. It's good, but never saw her smile as much unless she was here. See her doing people, talking to kids. That was my mom. So I love y'all for letting her be who she was today. Yeah, everybody went out whether you like it or not. Bring her over there, wait for her, bring her home whether they like you or not. But yeah, thank you for loving her and letting her love you.
We also want to acknowledge some students have something for the family. So our fifth grade students resumed, probably the students that remember Mrs. Jones, from that. So they have some great time. So this is some cards on behalf of students from Longfellow for the family.
All right, get ready.
Thank you.
I'm Sam Junior, my mother's oldest child. First off, I thank Longfellow for bestowing this honor for knowledge what she did while she was doing all those things. It's true that one of the things I love really about my mother is that she never really got to say goodbye to Longfellow. She buried her sister in Louisiana. And during that time, the pandemic hit. And when she got back, she couldn't come back here. Until every day, she get up the same time, look at her like, I can't go Longfellow, I can't go Longfellow. Just see it in her face like, been doing this for decades, you know what I'm saying? Like, just tell her. Most of all, I want to thank Longfellow for having her as long as you did. But thank Longfellow for loving her as long as you did. But thank Longfellow for allowing her to love the kids like she loved us. You know what I mean? Like any kid, but like she was gonna treat another kid more better than us. Sometimes I think she treated other kids better than us. She left a lasting impression on me. I have friends that is 3 decades of friends, their kids, and their grandkids. They all speak highly of Mrs. Jones. Over the years, I could be somewhere, see kids on field trips. They have little Longfellow patches. I might ask what so you go to Longfellow. They say, I go to Longfellow. I say, you know Mrs. Jones? Yeah, I know Mrs. Jones. I said, that's my mom. And then the other little kid just screaming, everybody, this is Miss Jones' son. I go up there, bus, they all gone, Mrs. Jones' son. I said, yeah, Mrs. Jones' son. But most of all, man, I just want to thank y'all, man, for loving her, embracing her, and holding on tight to her. And
confident that you have this in your mind to do this for our mother and our brother. I'd like to say a prayer before we move on to the
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a beautiful day, and I wanted to say to all the students, even though these are her official children, all of you were her children, and you've always meant the world to her. And because of that, whatever you do the rest of your life, remember that there's an angel, a mother angel for you, that's watching you, that wants you to be your best at all times. Is that okay? And as we walk into this room, we'll be able to see her picture and remind ourselves there's an angel watching us. Let's pray together. Dear God, we thank you for the gift of this beautiful woman. We thank you for the light that she shined in all of us as she walked through this room, as she walked through these hallways, as she touched so many children, poured into them not only food and nourishment, but love and kindness and compassion. And she continuously, God, used her gifts to make sure their lives were the better. And so we thank you for this school. We thank you for the leadership, the staff. We thank you for the school district. We thank you for the approval of this space being dedicated in her honor. And God, as we walk in and out of this room, as children come through, faculty, parents, not only, God, do we see her face, but we feel her love. And we're touched by the brightness that she shined so many years, for decades in this place. And let us now have that same spirit of kindness and compassion for one another, and continue in that same spirit to give to others to make all of our lives better. Dedicate this to honor her, and we give thanks to you. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.
When they end up in the back.
We got a new plaque. These were installed in. But we have a new one coming this week. We're going to swap it out. The family knows we're very sorry. She would be like, four of us looked at it.
Oh, yes.
That's Mrs. Jones right there. See the photo? That's fun. For Angel in the cafeteria.
Yeah, everybody. And how about Mr. Bruce and Miss Marty, who had Mr. Bruce installed these letters on the Saturday, came in, Miss Marty organized this whole event. Oh, good. Let's give her a round of applause. This space is lovingly dedicated to Mrs. Jones, whose tireless guidance and leadership graced Longfellow Elementary School spanning 5 decades from 1983 to 2020. The memories and lessons she bestowed upon the students' families, her colleagues, and our families will live on forever.